Hey, these are the top 10 best movies that I watched in March. I did in fact watch a movie every single day of March, just like the previous 2 months, but I wanted to experiment with a new kind of video this time around, so let me know if you liked it. Anyways, these are my own thoughts and opinions. Go watch the movies for yourself if you want to form your own, and spoilers for everything I talk about, obviously. Now let's dive on in. After hearing that the new Godzilla movie was coming out literally the next day at the time I watched this movie, I decided I'd give them all a watch. Now that I've seen all 5, I can easily say this is the best one. Skull Island was good, but everything else after that is far below these two. I don't know what went wrong, but hey, at least we have this one. The sheer sense of scale in this movie is breathtaking. I found myself just staring at the screen far more than a normal human, brain dissecting how massive these creatures must be, and wrapping my head around the destruction they're causing. That's something that the 2 newer ones just don't capture the same way for me. The human characters are actually likable in this first installment, which clearly wasn't the goal in anything here on. Yeah, it's weird that Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen are playing a married couple here when they'll play siblings in Age of Ultron. It's hella weird, but if you don't think about that, then you're all set. I'll admit, Muto wasn't as fucking terrifying as Ghidorah, but we couldn't have had Ghidorah feel like such a step up if we didn't have this one first. Also, the Halo jump was super fucking cool. Love that. Best shot in the movie. I kinda wish Bryan Cranston got a bigger role in this film, as bro fucking bites it in the first act, but I don't know if he'd have all that much to do. All in all, it's just a fun movie with a shit ton of dope monster versus monster action, so I'm a fan. If they're gonna make another one of these monsterverse movies, I hope they go back to this style. This one gets an 8 out of 10, and number 10 on the list. There was a re-showing of this fucking A-tier film at my theater, and as soon as I knew about it, I knew I had to go watch it. Let me tell you, it was even better than the first time I watched it. Genuinely, the theater added a shit ton to the viewing experience, and I'm thankful I didn't miss it. Sometimes you just need a good old-fashioned, incredibly choreographed, intense, fast-paced, style-heavy adventure of a movie. Those stretches of long-ass fight scenes were the best parts of these movies, for real. Probably some of the most jaw-dropping straight action scenes I've ever seen from anything. I'll admit that I've only seen the first 2 as of writing this, but I'm looking to change that very soon, especially after just having re-watched this beauty and hearing that the last 2 go above the heights of this one. Every single time a gun is fired, it's felt, and I'm saying that about a movie filled with 275 gunshots from just John Wick alone. Thanks Medium.com, I didn't want to fucking count all that shit. I'm also astonished at the level of detail from the filmmakers when it comes to being consistent with the amount of times he's fired the gun and every reload coming at exactly the right time. The dead wife and dog shit is heartbreaking as hell, but it's necessary to give Wick a reason to get back into the game, and that brings me to another point. I like how we get to see a man who's already retired. He knows this world better than most of the people living in it, and that fact alone sucks us as the audience so close to the action and world building in every scene. The villains aren't top-notch or anything, but they really don't need to be. They aren't the focus of the movie. Revenge is. The villains are just punching bags for John to get his rage out. This is a great movie, and one that I will revisit many times throughout my life. Also an 8 out of 10, and the 9th best movie from March. I watched almost every single live-action Spider-Man or Spider-Man adjacent movie this month. Oh, f*** you Morbius and Madam Web, I ain't watching your shitty asses again. No Way Home was one of them, and it was f***ing great. Fan service the movie, some might say. And you know what? Since when is that such a bad thing? Okay, maybe you're right, but this one did it good. And who could have possibly guessed that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield would make appearances in this movie? The entire fucking internet? Really? Well, it honestly didn't take away from the reveal. My entire theater was screaming when both of these sons of bitches showed up, and for good reason. Like I mentioned, I had just watched every single Tobey and Andrew Spider-Man movie before this one, and it added a whole new layer of appreciation coming straight off the backs of those 5. I think No Way Home has some of the best fight scenes out of any Marvel movie to date, and easily takes the cake as the best from Phase 4. Are you kidding? From the incredibly directed and acted opening scene of this movie, to the fresh and determined final shot of the film, I was gripping my seat, staring wide-eyed and intently at my screen. It's a little disappointing to see that Venom got jack shit to do here, especially for fans of those movies, but I have no idea how they would have fit him into this already 2.5-hour movie. Maybe he could have just stuck around in the MCU for a minute or something, I don't know. Regardless, this is a fantastic movie. His connections with his friends and desire to help them succeed no matter what allows us to relate so easily to Peter 1 and shows us that he's just a high school student who wants a normal life. Dafoe was brilliant in this film, arguably even better than in Spider-Man 2002, though he did have significantly less screen time here, naturally. Aunt May's death scene struck me like a bullet to the knee and is detrimental every time I view this shit. Peter's decision at the end to make everyone forget who he is, though riddled with questions, still manages to give him the selfless hero moment that this character needed to prove himself and set him apart from the gripes about MCU Spider-Man. This is MCU Peter's true origin story, all 3 of the home movies. Hell yeah, 9 out of 10. It had been many years since I last watched this movie, and I was blown away by how good it was. This movie doesn't around. It's only an hour and 45 minutes, but it genuinely feels like less than an hour. I mean, we start the movie already in the action with a ghost attack. If this came out today, it would have been like 45 minutes into the movie before we actually even saw a ghost. The 1984 film understands that we truly don't need any of that setup bullshit because we came here to see ghosts and people exploding them. Anyways, all these actors are beloved as hell and their chemistry is unmatched. The CGI is really impressive for the time in certain areas. I mean, anything with those demon dogs makes me want to rip my fucking eyes out, but it's the 80s, so what do you expect? The score is classic as hell and obviously extremely recognizable. I genuinely love this movie, and it's one of my favorite classic movies now. The sequels to this one, all of which I watched this month, aren't incredible or anything, but they're still a good bit of fun. Ghostbusters Afterlife is easily the best of the sequels, but still not as awesome as the OG. It's a high 9 out of 10. Lord and Miller just don't quit. I'm honestly convinced that they can do no wrong. And this ain't even the only movie of theirs that's on this list. Not by a lot. It's a huge miss that I had never seen this before, but I'm over the moon that I have now. It's funny as and I cannot wait to watch 22 if it's anything like this one. I'm a huge fan of Superbad, and this movie felt very similar in the best possible way. Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum make a fucking great duo. All of their scenes together are stolen by their chemistry. I love how this movie doesn't sacrifice heart for jokes. I see a lot of films and shows do that now, and it sucks ass. There's a balance to be had in there, and I think this movie pulled it the fuck off. Those action scenes also make me feel the same panic that these characters do. I love it when movies are able to do this flawlessly. One of the funniest parts, among many hilarious situations, has gotta be when Schmidt and Janko are high as while talking to that teacher. Everything in the theater department and the science class that our main characters enroll in also make for some ridiculously funny So does that car chase sequence. Damn it, maybe every scene is just really fucking funny. I had always heard my mom talk about how much she loved this movie, and now I can clearly see why that is. Absolutely amazing film, 9 out of 10. What a classic ass movie. Peak Pixar for sure. Watching this again threw me all the way back to a younger age and simpler time. It just has such a clear, defined place in my youth, and I'm proud to say that. I don't remember the last time I viewed it. It had to be at least 5 years ago, but I felt like I remembered so much about it while watching. Also, this movie's concept is insanely original, truly some awesome ideas put to screen here. The nostalgic score nearly brought me to tears by itself, not to mention Boo and Sully's incredibly heartwarming relationship. We see a fully grown being learn what it's like to care for a child, and it changes everything for him. Sully and Mike also have such a powerful friendship, and it feels like they've known each other for years. Hell, it feels like I've known them for years. The spider guy who turns out to be the twist villain is really cool despite how predictable it might be. I've seen this movie so many times, I don't really remember. I doubt I saw it coming as a kid though, because I was gullible as I still am gullible as Animation in particular goes absolutely crazy for 2001? Is that right? The fourth Pixar movie? Damn, effort really shows, doesn't it? Monsters Inc. is a fantastic kids movie, and if I ever have children, this will be one that I'll show them over and over. Another 9 out of 10, but honestly, a little more convincing would probably push me up to a 10. I don't give a about what anyone says. The Lego Movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. I genuinely must have seen this movie at least 50 times growing up. I would turn it on every Friday night to fall asleep for quite a long time. It's to the point where I can directly quote like half the shit they're saying. I was addicted to the idea of every aspect of this film. Like I had nearly every Lego set made for this movie. I still have them. Going back to rewatch it for the 1000th time was just as great, if not even better than all the previous times. I noticed something different every time I watch this shit, and I don't even have to look that hard. Emmett's adventure through the realms is 100% the hero's journey, which may not be the most original thing, but it comes off as so unique here with the incredible animation, heartfelt interactions, and hilarious voice acting. The characters and setting are both so fucking captivating and different from anything I've ever seen before. Each of Emmett's friends brings a different skill to the table, and when they're forced to work together to take down President Business, it gives the stage to these themes of teamwork that resonated with me so deeply as a youngin'. That, along with encouraging creativity by breaking the norms of society, make for such an effective message. The stuff that takes place in the real world don't make a bit of sense, but no one's watching the Lego Movie to debunk the logistics. Sure, this might be a long-ass advertisement for Lego, but I don't give a because I already committed my soul to them. 9 out of 10. Alright, top 3. Breaking Bad is a fucking incredible show, we all know that, but this season really said, hold my beer to season 1. Every single aspect from the first season is literally just done better here in this one. Those non-linear cold opens invite such mystery in those first few episodes, and I can remember squirming in my seat when I had first watched this show, trying to think of what the actual f*** happened. And the best part of all of that is when the payoff actually paid off. Oftentimes these mysteries and shows either get shitty conclusions or no conclusions at all. I'm looking at you for that last one, Severance. Give me another season, you rat bastard. Aaron Paul as Jesse takes the character to a whole new level this time around, and it's honestly no shock he won multiple Emmys over the course of this show. The introduction of Gus, Mike, Saul, Jane, Ted Beneke, and so many more lay the groundwork for the seasons to come. Gus is introduced as a cold, chilling businessman and will obviously be a key player in the rest of the show's runtime. I fear what Gus will do to our main characters, and I've already seen the damn thing. Jane brings the sense of value to the show that we and Jesse now have the ability to lose. This makes her scenes so intense, as we know she's probably gonna die, and that's exactly what they do. They kill her because she's the one part of the show that isn't necessary to function, but would be such a detrimental loss for Jesse. That loss will fuel his drive for the rest of the show, and it cements his role in crime. There's no going back now. I could keep talking about all the consequences of seemingly meaningless actions in the show and the relationships between intricately written characters, but ultimately, we don't have time to talk about all that. 9 out of 10, and my third favorite season of the show. Alright, damn, I didn't expect this movie to be that good, like shit. This was indeed better than the first one, by quite a lot. I know this has been out for some time now, but I did watch it relatively close to its release. Let's just start by listing some of the great aspects of this movie. The f***ing cinematography, the score, visual effects, the acting, writing, nearly everything was captivating as f***. The 3 hours went by in no time. I never checked the time once during the entire film. And watching the first one was well worth it for this piece of cinema. The sheer scale this movie provides is beyond this world, man. They managed to make everything seem f***ing enormous. Alright, now time for some of the performances. Austin Butler infected every one of his scenes with that menacing Kubrick stare and his incredible impression of Stellan Skarsgård. I cannot get enough of this motherfucker. Only wish he didn't eat shit at the end. Also, Greg Fraser and Denis Villeneuve's decision to shoot the Harkonnen planet using an infrared lens for the outside shots was absolutely brilliant and truly some of the most awe-inspiring shots of the entire film. The end of the movie was one of the greatest parts as well. Paul threatening to unleash the reserve of atomic bombs on the other houses and taking the Emperor's daughter in marriage was a real f***ing climax to a fantastic movie. And that's not even mentioning Baron Fade Routha's fight with the Lisan al-Gaib himself. I cannot wait for part 3, dude. 9 out of 10 and the number 2 spot on this list. This is 2 movies, I know, but I wanted to combine them into one so that I had room for everything else. Regardless, these 2 films were the best I saw in March anyways, and I think it's pretty easy to tell why. I'd give both of these masterpieces of a film a 10 out of 10, though I do think Across is just a tad bit better than Into. Lord and Miller have done it again, and I wonder if Beyond can top these 2. I really f***ing hope so. Everything from the breathtaking animation styles to the emotionally driven voice acting is perfect. Give me 100 years to tell you something wrong with these movies, and I really don't think that I could. The What's Up Danger scene could possibly be my favorite scene in any movie that I've ever seen, genuinely. The chase scene at the end of Across is also definitely up there. I could watch these movies over and f***ing over and never get bored. How could I? How could anyone? Every decision made to achieve this final product was beyond the correct one to make. Miles is an incredibly relatable and inspiring character for people across the world, and even though we see him screw up a lot, it's what makes him a true hero. When he interacts with Gwen and Peter B. Parker in Across, I get a sense of nostalgia, almost like I'm coming into contact with an old friend again. And I love it! I mean, Into came out 6 years ago, which isn't that long, but it was long enough to engrave itself into my childhood forever. I'm sure that in another 6 years, I'll look back on Across in the same way. These movies are foundational in my life, and I'm sure many others as well. If you haven't seen either of the Spider-Verse movies, what the hell are you doing right now watching some random fucker talk about them on YouTube? Go fucking watch the movies. Kingpin, great villain. The Spot, even better in my opinion. Miguel O'Hara, not really a villain per se, but definitely an antagonist of Miles. And even motherfucking better, the assortment of spider people are all fleshed out way more than they need to be, and I love them all. Well, most of them. Everything in Mumbattan was visually stunning and a really awesome and well-deserved bit of representation that doesn't exist that much in superhero films. I feel like I could literally go on forever about how f***ing perfect both of these movies are, but I'll just give them both a 10 out of 10 and mark them as my favorite films watched in March 2024. Well, there you have it, my top 10, or really 11 movies from last month. I hope you guys enjoyed this different, far shorter style of video, but I'm curious to hear what you think in the comments. I would definitely be down with going back to the longer essay type videos or continuing with this. I don't really know, you tell me. Also, here's a quick list of everything else I watched last month, set to some funky ass tunes. That was a total of 34 movies and 6 seasons of television in the month of March. Anyways, that's all. Have a slap-tastic rest of your day. Peace.